I say congratulations to Gargura for making it to 1 million. Congratulations, Gargura. You're amazing and great. Alright, let me just finish this up and figure out what the fuck is going on. Johnny, what's up?
Oh, Mike was muted. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good, my spectral friend.
How was D&D?
That was fun. Yeah, this is my first time playing 5th edition. It's I can see what you mean about it being like more accessible or whatever.
Streamlined, normally friendly, all that, you know.
Yeah.
And no more THACO and other stuff. Hey Spencer, how you doing? I'm doing fine, Spencer. All right, let's do some Borderlands.
Yeah, it was kind of more like the Star Wars game we've been playing. It's more I guess roleplay focused, where you just kind of cut a lot of the math out. You just get to role playing it out, which it's fun that way.
I don't think so. I think there's a ton of D20ing. I mean, but D&D is always supposed to be role playing heavy.
Yeah. But the old systems, I did like some of the things about I don't know, just some of the tactical combat systems, but especially the way Tango was doing it, he was just kind of almost completely cutting out initiative. Like he would just make like the monsters go and then the players go. And I could see the appeal of that. Like some people probably just want to get to it and not have so much die rolling.
I mean, certain things, you know, like you need to die roll, obviously, like attacking or lockpicking or something. But like a lot of stuff, you know, if it's conversation based, it's like, well, why the heck are we gonna roll dice? Tell me what you say, and then I'll say it works, you know. And so then it can be like, oh well, let's see how compelling your argument was.
Yeah, the conversation stuff I didn't usually do a lot of die rolling for that stuff. I would just do the role playing. But I guess it depends on certain situations where I guess you're trying to intimidate or convince someone. Then you might want to throw in a die roll. Try to see if you can charm somebody or something. Because then it's like kind of a win or a lose situation.
Oh crap! She's calling all the horny jabbers back.
More well, not really win or lose. It can be just like how well or not well you perform.
Yeah, or it could be, you know, like roll the dice to get something extra out of the situation. But yeah, I was playing a big dumb barbarian. It's a good thing to start off with when you're getting used to a new rule set. And he had a spirit bear that he communes with. It was like me of bear spirit. He communed with bear. His name is Bear.
So wait, you were a bear?
Well, I was a barbarian that communicates with a ghost spirit. He gets his powers from a bear spirit.
Sounds almost like a weird cleric, but it could work.
Let's move out.
Yeah. Well, there was a subclass of barbarian in this new version that you have a totem spirit.
Oh.
So I chose the bear, and it says that you can you have to have a totem on you, which is like something taken from a bear. So I just made my guy run around with a big bear skin on for a cloak.
A big bear skin cloak. Hey, ominous, I see.
Yeah. So he's like, I have Spirit Bear. Spirit Bear's name is Bear.
Just be careful.
I wear
you don't
bear.
want your character to get bare naked. Well, if you're a barbarian, you actually basically almost are bare naked.
Well, he's a barbarian.
That's right, the dino part.
Oh yeah, we left off just before the weird section where the teddy bear argues with the computer.
Is that iced cube or something? Or ice...
Yeah, it's iced tea.
Iced tea. Yeah. So there's a difference between iced cube and iced tea?
Yes.
Huh, I did not know that.
But not very much of one. But I think that's Ice-T. He's the one that's in that cop show.
I don't watch much television.
Yeah, I don't either. But I remember that show because back during Gamergate they had that episode about like how evil gamers are.
Well, we are evil.
It was Law and Order SDU.
We are evil if you're the established power structure.
SVU.
You just wanted to play video games.
Yeah. Well, don't you know you're supposed to be, like, obsessing over their politics all the time? You're not allowed to just have fun.
Nope, sometimes I actually just play video. Apparently, though, the Groypers are tearing down one of their own over, like, a joke or something he made. Guy Adi, the guy I hosted last night. Apparently, like, they're just, like, shitting on him for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't follow the Groyper scene except for occasionally watching Fuentes.
That was really uncomfortable.
Who's the normie, Johnny or Ghost? Probably neither, but
This should help.
I don't know. I'm not that much of a normie myself, but I can't speak for anyone else, really.
I'm too much of a bigot to be a normie, really.
So you're a 60s or 70s normie?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, supposedly. I tend to think that might just be a little more blood libel about our ancestors.
I mean, it really just depends where you come from. I mean, from your perspective, they probably weren't bigoted, but from most people's perspective, they consider them bigoted. It's probably one of those, you know, like the founding fathers, you know, they did believe in universal suffrage more or less, and they wrote about, many of them did, more or less, but, you know, it's like, oh, but they were slave owners. It's like, well, I mean, no, they're just wealthy people in their time that didn't want to pay for... didn't want to pay for labor, like, I mean, they wanted to own their means of production rather than...
Wait, did they add something else into this part? I don't remember having to look for a key fragment in this
I
room.
thought so too, but that's why I have a new skill point, but I can start a new tree. Do I want to start a new tree? That's the question.
I think it might be stuck. I don't remember it hanging up on this part before.
Gun damage above half health. Sure, let's get that. Locate the key fragment. I know what can happen is it can get stuck. I've had that happen.
Well, I've seen it get stuck on certain parts, but never seen it get stuck on this part.
I had it happen last time.
Oh, really? So you might need to just reload.
VTuber avatar which he perceived as an e-girl. No, that's not why. It was over that Charlotte guy that died. I think he made like a joke or something, and because lots of gripers unfortunately are really thin-skinned Zoomers, I don't think they understood the joke.
Ominous seems like the type who always knows the gossip.
I mean, he just spent a lot of time on this platform. But, you know, I don't like to shit on my audience too much.
No, I'm just teasing him.
Wait, so the key fragment says it's right here? No, it's Balax.
Yeah, I think it might be stuck, because usually he messes around with the computer for a while, and then those waves of monkeys keep coming.
Yeah,
kind of like they're having a protest or something.
Let me go back to the main menu. But I mean,
Yeah,
both Audie
probably
and
gotta
Joseph
reload
are
this.
using VTuber avatars. Like, I don't think it's unique. No, I think he stepped on toes or something. Also, he hosted me last night, so he's a good lad in my book, that's for sure. Alright, let me just invite you. You accept my feedback, Ominous? Oh, well, thank you.
Now, hopefully it doesn't do that again.
Hopefully. But I did specifically remember that happening
That would
before.
buy a lot of chew toys.
I think the only part that I've seen get hung up frequently was that part where Brick is supposed to be opening all the doors for you.
Oh.
And now Discord keeps lowering your volume too. I wish there was a way to keep that from
Oh,
happening.
see, now he opens the door. Oh, yeah, the floor.
Yeah, normally you come here, he fucks around with the computer, he yells at Genevieve. Oh, now it's over and we go to this part. Okay, so it finished properly.
You've grown a thicker skin, Spencer. That's honestly a good thing to have.
Like, I literally can't remember a time in my life where I've had a thin skin. Like, I've grown up around, like, a bunch of asshole New Yorkers who, like, we call each other asshole and douchebag as terms of
I
endearment.
mean, that's kind of just generally how most men function, is the jabbing and jibing is kind of part of, you know, male bonding. I think the weird way that the millennials try to qualify it is, oh, it's just negging. And it's just, that sounds gay. It's just how dudes act, okay? Negging. Negging sounds like a weird sexual thing.
I tend to think it is actually something. I think that became a form of male bonding because we're trying to teach each other
Afternoon,
to.
Mr. Aiden XC98. You Irish? Yeah, Irish fuck. Yeah, Patty?
I think it's kind of like how cats play fight when they're kittens. It's to teach each other how to
I mean,
hunt.
dogs are the best
We do it
example
to
of
just
play
thicken
fighting.
each other's skins.
If you've ever watched a puppy and a big dog play, like the puppy will push all the boundaries, and then the big dog will put its mouth around the little dog's neck and just be like, "Okay, are we done?"
Yeah.
And that's how they learn boundaries.
Well, they teach lessons to each other, and like I think the reason why guys just like bust each other's balls is to help each other get tough, to thicken each other's
Some
skins.
of that, that's for sure. I think a lot of the trouble we have is that a lot of parents, particularly women, don't understand that the point of, you know, the point of, like, not necessarily physical violence is that you don't inflict any, like, lasting injury. You don't actually hurt someone. You just make them know it's not okay what they're doing. You know. But there's a lot of, you know, mothers especially that, you know, beat their kids with, like, a belt or with their shoes and shit. And that's just really just being abusive to a kid, and it's teaching them that, like, oh, when things happen that you don't want to happen, then all you do is you just hit someone until they stop. Instead of, it should be, you should be teaching them that you make what's happening stop. You know, you show them that you're in control and you're responsible, and like, hey, look, please stop doing this. You know, you're not trying to hurt someone, you're not trying to abuse someone, you're just trying to, you know, you're just trying, you're trying to remind them that, like, hey, you don't do this, okay? It's not okay. But, yeah.
Well, I actually think that's another lesson that fathers teach to sons
Right,
and
because
daughters.
the reason why women do it is because they're physically inferior to their sons, and this is why it works for, you know, about a decade or so, and then their sons get bigger than them, and because you've used violence the whole time to control them, they're just sitting there like, yeah, and what are you gonna do about it? You know, but if you
Did you get these legendaries that dropped back here?
where were they?
2 of them dropped from a loot ghost.
Oh shit, nice. No, I didn't. Let me see if they're on the map. I'm not gonna stream to Africa TV, Ominous. There's no reason for me to. I don't have.
That is unless we get different drops. Maybe they didn't drop.
Well,
for you.
I can check on the map. Let me see.
Oh, I messed up that jump.
My Shark Girl got to 1 million subs on YouTube today. It's nice.
I gotta say, I'm actually a little afraid because a couple of those little V-Girl clips that some of your people have been posting in your Discord, I've actually found them actually really cute. And I'm like, no, I can't be entertained by this V-Girl thing.
Like, it's what they're doing is they're, you know, they're acting like women. You know, like it's you know, women are taught to be so mannish and hideous and ugly in the modern world that it's like when you just see one, just like, oh, what are they doing? Oh, they're just acting cutesy and whatnot. Like, that really? That's it? What's the gimmick? And it's like, no, that's what they do. And it's like, oh wow, you haven't. I haven't seen that. Oh yeah, so it dropped over here. Perfect. Let's see. What do we got? Shotgun, eh? Let me see.
Yeah, it dropped right over there.
Like the other one that was on with Shark Girl today is this rapper girl. Well, she sings like really cutesy, wholesome rap music because she's supposed to be like a reaper. And she got to 500,000 today. And it's pretty funny. She complains that she buys like really cheap convenience store wine and shit.
Well, that's kind of a white trash thing, isn't it?
Well,
My mother
she's
was
not
always
white.
buying bottles of wine.
She's not white. Like, she's Japanese, you know.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that's like more of a white trash thing, buying the cheap wine all
Put
the
it
time.
in a paper bag, yeah. Oh, there he goes. Goodbye.
You okay?
That's for the wine ants and stuff.
Well, I mean, that's my 21st birthday. They gave me a 40 of, like, the absolute worst, like, disgusting malt liquor ever. I drank it all. It was fucking awful. It's part of why I don't drink at all. It was that bad.
Me and my friends would buy those sometimes back in the 90s. It was like cheap alcohol. I forgot about this guy. It's a mini boss. And he reflects shit back at you.
Not if you punch him. Yeah, I do. I like Maury a lot, Spencer. She's great. Someone asked her in a super chat, like, would you step on me? And she didn't know that it was... Well, at least she acted like she didn't know it was like a sexual fetish. Just like, I guess, but why?
I tend to think that that's a real soy boy thing, like having fetishes that involve being dominated
Oh,
by
yeah,
a woman.
100%.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
like
you're not
all
wrong
that
about that.
dominatrix
That's a
stuff.
super soy thing. 100%.
Yeah. All the dominatrix stuff is just guys who are not comfortable with their masculinity and they want the woman to be the man.
Well, my favorite was, if you remember, there was like a pornographic VTuber got big a couple months ago called Project Melody, and Dick Masterson, he had on like this e-thought or like this like cam girl on his show, and she was just like autistically screeching for like half an hour about like, she doesn't show her face and that's against the terms of service. It could be like just crying and crying. It's like, cope harder, bitch.
Women get really angry when other women are succeeding at their con.
Or when they beat them at their own grift.
Yeah.
Without having to show their face.
We just obliterated that boss.
Yeah, no, ridiculous.
I think what happened was we played through the Psycho DLC, and we got a few levels ahead of this content,
100%.
which is way too easy for us.
Sometimes I hate my workplace. It keeps adding accounts to the hierarchy. God damn. Makes my life miserable because I have to add them everywhere. And then they change one letter, which ruins the entire damn system. And it's like, fucking hell, fuck all of you. Oh well. That's right, we're on Jacob's world. We gotta make sure Hammerlock can get to his gay wedding. Guys, we gotta make sure.
One thing that I thought was a cool little flavor thing is how every world in this game had its own style of chest and stuff.
It is a nice touch. I think they did that in 2, though.
Well, I think there were different types, but I don't know if it was necessarily associated with certain areas.
Wait, we have to go back to
I think they were
Sanctuary?
just
Where
scattered
are we
about
going
with a little
next?
bit.
We are
Yeah,
going
we
Sanctuary.
probably have to go back and talk to Lilith because that's what you do like 25 times throughout the story.
Hold on, Lilith. We're trying to play a game here. Big on thought.
It wouldn't be so annoying if she wasn't like literally at the other end of the ship,
I know.
so that you have to run all the way across the ship the whole time, every time.
Although the funny part is the Reaper girl. I think her album got to the top of the rap category in America. So she beat out
Is
like
she
every
dressed as the Grim
R&B
Reaper?
and rap artist in the country.
Genevieve is all up in your ship.
Hey, cutie idiots. I like your ship. Might as well arm us a family.
Well, wasn't that guy who makes fun of Monday Matt and makes those
MC
rap
Jarbo?
songs?
I
Didn't he
think he
get on
charted in
like
comedy.
Take apart the
Billboard
crew.
charts?
Yeah, no, he charted for comedy albums with
Vault Hunter, we're locked in here. Get to the bridge and fix this.
he charted in comedy with
What
his
is going on? Are we under
the album he put out.
robots and children?
Yeah.
That guy's funny.
And then Ralph was saying he's on the chart because he did some little backup vocal
He
for it or
did.
something.
I think he did a track for the song "My Girlfriend's Daughter," which is fucking hilarious. That guy's a real
Like-
talent. I honestly wish he would do some original music.
Yeah.
like-
If Too Bad Rap isn't real music though.
Well, he does. I mean, like it's comedy.
You should do something white like electronic music,
gosh.
like
Wub wub wub
techno
wub
dance
wub
music.
wub bass
Justice
bass
is
wub wub
required.
wub wub bass bass. But look, the only good
Well, there's also, like,
electronic music is
industrial
Daft
electronic.
Punk, okay.
And once she rewards me with a dreadnought,
Well, have you heard like 9 Inch Nails stuff? That's all
Never.
electronic, and that's pretty creative.
I have not heard anything of the sort. I only know that Daft Punk is the only electronic music that's worth listening to.
You are so not a music guy.
No,
but
listen,
that's-
Interstellar
that's true.
777 is pretty great. All right.
Got her claws in
If you've
your
ever heard their album with the movie that they did,
myself.
it's freaking great.
I got all kinds of legendaries this time.
Yeah, let me see if this is better than the one I have. It's not.
And here's a legendary skin that I already
Let me
have.
see. I have it too. Yeah, both of them. Listen, Daft Punk is
And
the true patricians
have-
metal
I have that one
electronic
already.
music.
Oh, and I got a grenade upgrade. I'll use that.
Let me see. I have this is the exact same gun as the one I have. Spencer likes Sabaton. Now, Sabaton, that is a band I've actually heard of, but never heard their music. And I've only heard of it because with like Razor Fist, it's basically a meme at this point. Where it's like, everyone always asks, like, review Sabaton, review Sabaton. Which is funny.
Look there. Loot over there.
That's I don't know if you have the Halloween grenade at level 26 or higher, but here's a level 26 one.
I think I have it at 26, yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Well, if this one might have a better mod. I don't know.
Let me go sell my stuff. The Doom electronic remixes. I like the one with the cute girl singing it. The Doom Crossing song. But it's like the parody of.
That is really.
It's really
that's
cute.
A funny
I
little
like it.
meme.
It's funny.
But man, like if you're not really into music, like that's actually a perfect example of really good electronic music. Is it's a mixture of metal and electronic, though it's industrial, you would call it.
Industrial.
And the Doom Mick Gordon, who does the Doom soundtracks, is incredibly talented.
I do like the background music in Doom. I think it very much fits what I'm doing. You know, it's like if I'm shooting demons, that's what I should be hearing.
Well, did you play the original Quake?
Yes. I used to play it, but I mean, the original Quake wasn't co-op. I know Quake 2 was.
So then you have heard Nine Inch Nails
I
music.
probably
'cause
have,
they did
yeah.
the
No,
sound-
like, don't get me wrong. Like, just because I don't know what the band is doesn't mean I haven't heard it. Like, I had to be told what were, like, Queen songs and Beatles songs and the Stones Rolling, or what was they called? The
Well,
one
I'm
with the
not
guy
into,
from
like,
Pirates of the
classic rock.
Caribbean, the old guy. Oh, Rolling Stones. That's what it is. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I had to be told, like, oh, that's, whatever, the guy who kept having his blood replaced. You know? Because he was so addicted to drugs that he kept having to replace his entire blood. My dad used to tell me that story. This guy was such a junkie that they literally took all the blood out of his body and cycled it through. And he had to do it twice because he got back addicted to, like, heroin.
Well, I don't know how much of that is true. That
No,
sounds
it's
like one of
it's
those
an
myths
expensive
about
procedure
them.
he had twice. Because he got
Really?
so addicted to drugs. He was gonna kill himself, so he cycled all of his blood out of his body, had it cleaned, and put back in.
Well, isn't that dialysis basically?
Basically, yeah, because he's so fucked up on like heroin and shit. It was the only way to like get clean, quote unquote.
What are we doing now? We have to give something to Marcus.
That's it. That's a DLC quest. Oh, we have to do something in this room.
Oh.
Oh, it's below us. That's why. We have to go to Marcus's store. Restream has LinkedIn as an option. I would recommend not using that, Ominous. 'Cause I would not ever, ever have anything you do online connected to attempting to get a real job.
Or a broken toilet.
Well, it depends what that real job is, doesn't it? What if you're working for like a social media company or
No.
something?
Even then, like literally, all you're asking for trouble, you know. Like, what if you talk to someone that is okay when you talk to them, and then later, you know, becomes an unpersoned? Like, you could totally ruin your career over, like, oh, you're talking to this terrible person. Like, there's no reason to add that at all. No reason to open yourself up to that kind of risk.
I'll just advance the plot a little bit here.
Oh,
by
yeah, I'm
giving
just
that
selling
key
shit.
to her. Yeah.
And I stand
Yeah,
by
sorta.
that full stop. There's just The answer is
Thank you.
just don't.
Our incarceration was not without fruit.
Just don't.
We may have
I'll
a plan to open the
sort
vault
out your
without
loot,
giving the
and I'll
collectors
just
what they
do
want
the
to
talking
get.
to people here and get
Now
that
that we
over
know
with.
they're after
Yeah.
the power of the vault monster
What about
itself,
Because you've been
Video
walking
editing?
around with a full
I
inventory.
mean, like he's talking about live streaming, like restreaming directly back to
saved the ship again.
LinkedIn, and I'm saying don't do that. That's a dumb fucking
I mean,
idea.
don't even say, yeah, it was all me. I'm gonna stick around. The ship is tight.
Like if you're going to get a job as a video editor or try to get a job, yes, show your videos.
Oh, I heard from
But
Clay.
like live
Tell
streaming
me on
doesn't
the next
involve
frack,
much
you'll
video
meet up with
editing,
him.
unless you're talking about like after the fact. Unfortunately, video editing seems to be easy enough that not many people are paying good money for it. Let's see. I have a level 29 ghast call.
I should be working out.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I have a level 29 one also.
I really hate how freaking unreliable moving pieces in your inventory is.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a
It's really
pain.
wacky. Why?
My life is going just fine.
You have to like click it and then you hit enter on the one you want to switch it with. It's hard to remember that sometimes. Or you hit space.
Yeah, that works.
Is it space or enter? Yeah.
Okay. Got that, got that. Now we go talk to Clay, so we have to go back.
I don't know if this is any good, but I have the sellout gun at level 26 if you don't have a better pistol.
You have what Maurice requires.
Let's see.
Where are you?
Are these ghosts merely spectral trophies, or do they serve a greater purpose?
That's what it is.
There you are. Now I gotta find my way down. I think I just go down here.
Yeah, check that out.
Well, I gotta go back up.
Okay, I'll pick it up and bring it down.
PewDiePie pays $200,000 a year for someone to edit his videos. Well, yeah, PewDiePie has 55 million subscribers, and he probably has someone that worked in like Hollywood or professionally that does his videos. You know, it's not like he just like I don't think he found like a friend on the internet and said, "Hey, you want to make 6 figures out of my videos?" I think he was like, "Hey, I'm the world's biggest fucking streamer ever. Would you like to be part of my team making videos and making a ton of money?"
Yeah, I mean, when you get that big, you don't have to do the work yourself anymore. It's
I mean, PewDiePie
you,
is like so wealthy he could literally like break every taboo and probably be fine. He can recover from it.
Well, you know something, that's the thing that actually pisses me off about him. It's like he's obviously kind of red-pilled about some things that matter, but
Is
like
he, or is that just
he's
part?
got fuck you money, so why
No,
is he
but
kissing their asses?
Are you
still?
sure about that? Because I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
think about
I'm
some
not sure it's
things.
not just a bit.
A
You
hunt
know what I
with a
mean?
bounty. That would buy
Like,
a
I
lot
think he
of chew
believes the
toys.
fake news is fake news.
Well, I think he's been impacted by it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
If he, oh wait, it's not here. We go. Shit, it's Reliance. We go to.
I mean, I'm not saying he's like in very deep, but
Ominous. I've never edited any of my videos.
I think he understands what's wrong with the ADL.
Well, yeah,
that
because
he
they've
shouldn't be
attacked
giving
him. I
money
think
to
he
them.
understands like things as it pertains to him.
Smooth operator. Glad you're
Yeah.
here, because I could use a hand.
I'm
See,
not saying
I
he's
used to run a
not
smuggling
red pilled,
crew
but I'm
called
saying that at
Well,
minimum,
I called him
like
in to
that
find
kid's a
the key
freaking
fragment.
genius. Okay, like he
Yeah.
understands that like
Infiltrated the COV
in
and
order
went
to
deep
win on the
undercover.
internet,
So
like
deep
it's
that
not
now I can't get
cool
hold
to
of
be
those
like a
guys.
normie.
So
You know, it's
I
not
need
cool
you
to.
to track
You
them
have to be
down.
at least out
Take
there to
this.
some extent. Because otherwise, it's like, oh, I can get this milk toast taste take from like CNN and other shit. You know, who cares?
I do not
You know, if you're just gonna
I
you're
ascertain.
gonna do like what Destiny or Hassan Piker does. Like I can go get that from turning on the TV. You know, you got to be a little edgy and entertaining.
Leave secret messages.
I mean, but my whole point is that, you know, when you have fuck you money, you shouldn't be like watching what you say and kissing people's asses. The whole point of having fuck you money is to say fuck you
Well,
to people who try to control your behavior.
There's also you could also make the argument that like the way that you keep fuck you money is by not stepping on toes and by, you know, being edgy within an acceptable context and not going too far. Like you gotta remember that like banks can like make it so you can't bank. You know, like there's
No, I mean, but I'm not saying he should go too far, so to speak. But going too far in the other direction is giving money to the ADL.
I think that was a joke to some extent. I'm not sure though.
I'm not so sure about that.
I
think he was giving them money to get them off his back, but he shouldn't have been even worried about that.
Yeah, but like that's easy to say, you know, when you're not ridiculous. Like I'm not, like when you're not ridiculously wealthy or I'm not calling you unsuccessful. Obviously, we all have different degrees of success.
No,
obviously.
I'm unsuccessful.
But
compared to PewDiePie,
right,
we're
like,
all
we're
unsuccessful.
all fucking failures in the eyes of like comparing ourselves to PewDiePie. Let's all be honest, okay? No one that watches my stream or has been on my stream is gonna look at PewDiePie and go, "Oh yeah, that guy, he just kind of successful." No, like that kid, like, jeez.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that kid is winning at life.
I mean, but my whole point is that, I mean, at least the way I see it is the whole purpose of making that kind of money is to be freed by that money, to gain freedom from it. And if you don't have the freedom to speak your mind and just be your own person, and you have to like make concessions to obviously evil organizations that are trying to curtail the freedoms of people, like free speech.
Yeah. No, I know. I like it. Believe me. Like what I'm saying is, yeah, I'd like him to be much better on the issue, but like I understand why he's not. Like I don't like it.
I understand why he thinks he can't be, but I don't think that's.
But you don't understand.
I don't know.
Like,
I think
about the size
you're
of
just
the
screwing
island
yourself.
he's gonna buy someday.
So you found me some loot?
He's just screwing himself out of the kind of freedom that his money should be buying him. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, to some extent. But it's also like, why tip over the
Like,
apple
if I-
cart if you don't have to?
I guess,
Like,
but
I don't know.
like, just if I had the kind of money that I don't have to worry for the rest of my life,
Remember that vid
nobody
where
would be
Troy
able to
super
control
murdered
my
his friend?
behavior, my speech, nothing about me. I would be me.
You're also coming from the
100%.
perspective
We
of
kill some orphans or kill some puppies?
like you don't know how vested he is in the market. You're right, he does have fuck you kind of money, but like you don't know if he's got expensive taste or expensive hobbies, an expensive girlfriend. I mean, it can vary. Your fortune can very quickly go in half. Once you're married and someone takes everything from you. Like it's not.
Be God soon, bitches.
That's
No,
true,
you're
and I
right.
guess my
he more or less
taste.
does have some kind of like fuck you money to an extent. But
I guess my tastes are less expensive too, so I can't
right,
quite
but you
relate
didn't
to that.
become a multi-millionaire in your 20s. You can
Yeah.
imagine how that might impact how you develop and how you act, right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I mean, if I was a millionaire in my 20s, it would be very, very, very expensive food every meal. It would be, I would have like my own personal chef. I'd have a multi-story. I'd have a basketball court in my basement. I would have, like so much ridiculous shit.
I'm not
But
certain I
don't
would
need-
have
all the stuff I
I
know
wouldn't
I don't
necessarily
need.
have that, but I think I would make sure that whatever I have was going to last me the rest of my life without me having to kiss people's asses.
Spencer brings up Bank of America stopped Red Ice from being able to use a normal bank. They survive from cryptocurrency. And, like, this is the thing. Like, if he got too spicy, he could get unbanked. And now, granted, like you would say, a rational person would say, "Oh,
They can't take his money away.
I mean, they
They
can.
could just not allow him.
What do you mean
to
they can't
use
take
the
his
bank.
money away?
They could take his account away, but they can't take the money away.
I don't know about that. Like, things are changing. I mean, it could be someday that if he makes some statement that's too
It may
controversial,
be
he
headed
lives
in that
Sweden.
direction. You might be right, but as
But what I'm saying
at
is, like,
least
the
so
EU,
far-
they could just say, like, oh, well, if you break or have broken this law, ex post facto, we can take away all your money and what, like if you're that smart and successful, you have to understand, that like things can change on a dime. They can put rules to destroy your life in place pretty easily because that's how politics works.
I suppose that's true.
I don't know. I just think like.
Keep shooting those
Yes,
marks,
ideally,
Walker.
what would I much prefer him go around and be like, fuck you to the man, and, just like stick his middle finger up at everyone, kind of be like a gaming Donald Trump? Yeah, 100%. I would love for that. But I understand. I mean, I understand why he doesn't, you know, and like, I don't know.
I mean, I think he should do it for other content creators. You know,
A hunt with a
he should be
bounty.
using.
That would
If I
mean a
was
lot
him,
of
I'd
cheap
I'd
toys.
probably try to.
But here's the
make
thing, though,
the,
about Pewds. Like, Pewds does promote other content creators. Like, I mean, you get a shout out from PewDiePie. Holy shit! Like, you get a massive bump. He's
Well, I'm
called
not
out.
talking about promotion. I'm talking about more helping to use some of his influence to protect others from censorship.
Yeah, the problem is the more people he connects with, like, the more openings he leaves for people to try and, you know, take what's his. Like, you know, we'd like these people to be paragons, but most people, like, even the super wealthy, a lot of them, you know, if they're not, like, super invested in, like, charity or societal change, a lot of them are just like, look, you know, I want to raise my kids, I want to make my money, I want people to leave me the fuck alone. And that's the normal person, how the normal person functions.
I mean, wouldn't it be in his interest also to try to change the trend towards censorship in YouTube
Honestly,
and things
no.
like that? You know, because
No,
those
if you
are
think
the
about it from like a
those are the spheres he
but
operates in.
if you consider it from a Machiavellian standpoint, whereby, you know, he wants to maximize his value, having edgy competition taken out and being chosen as the acceptable edgy competition actually benefits him more, because it gives him a larger audience and less people to siphon away his audience. Like, if you think about it,
You
from
think
just a
he's
purely
looking at it that way?
self-interest
Because I don't think actually YouTube competition necessarily even works that way. I think by feeding into whatever corner of the market that you're providing entertainment to, by growing that and helping it become stronger.
I don't know if
in
that's the way
similar
the
channels,
algorithm
you're
works,
actually
though,
helping
you know?
to draw
Like,
more of an
that's what I'm
audience
saying.
to your own channel.
PewDiePie was a poll user for a while. Okay, never mind. He's based. Like, the thing is, like, it doesn't. I don't know if you necessarily know if it does grow. I don't know if we're like growing it or just. I think there's obviously like some natural growth to some extent. Oh, blue button. Right, there's obviously some like kind of natural growth that comes with, you know, new people coming online, new people being added, but you have to remember the YouTube algorithm is going to take those new users that have no history, and it's going to try and section them off into acceptable content, probably out, you know, stuff like, oh look, it's PewDiePie.
Well, I mean, but that's exactly the type of thing that I'm talking about him using his influence for, to make some change to that.
Right, and I'd like him to do that, but I can't. I can't say like that would be better for him monetarily.
I think it would be better for him, but
I mean, it would turn. I mean, like, in fact, you'd probably shrink his audience doing that by turning off, you know, lame normies. There's a thieving
I
jabber.
think so. I don't know how many of the woke crowd are watching PewDiePie. But
It's a non-zero number. I mean, he's too big for it to not be a non-zero number.
yeah, fair enough. But I mean, it's just that's kind of like talking about how many brown people are voting for Donald Trump.
I mean, he'd probably be 20% of the Hispanic population, at least. It's not nothing, but, you know. Thank you, Cubans.
Well, okay, so how many black people?
Probably
That's
10% at most. It's not
you think
it's not
even
nothing,
that
but
much?
it is something. But
I don't think it's even
it'll be
10%.
10. It'll be minimum 10. I think it'll be minimum 10. It's gonna be low though, like probably 12 or 13.
You can't really trust the polls,
Well, yeah,
so
exactly.
you might be right.
I really can't trust the polls. But the polls are, you know, psyops. I mean, the polls' purpose is to demoralize right-wing voters because they can't motivate their own voters. Hey, Drumboy O2, what's up, man? Poll is a powerful weapon of the internet. I mean, I like poll, but I mean, oh gosh, that's gonna get clipped. Tango, go clip that, please. Please clip that out of context for me. That's what I need.
Sometimes I am pretty impressed by the reach poll seems to have.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just like, hey man, they should be allowed
I don't
to
know
speak
if
what
they
want to speak.
necessarily
Thank you,
make
Tango.
change, but they have to be.
Thank you, Tango. Ah, the perfect timing. Oh, is that a goal?
Like I don't think poll is gonna make huge changes to the world, but I'm impressed by how they can like make a meme spread worldwide and shit.
Exactly. Alfarius says Pokemon go to the polls. I literally, Alfarius, I just want to play Among Us so that I can throw as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez out the airlock. Can I have that happen to me in life? Wouldn't that be wonderful, Alfarius?
Yeah, I was saying, since we can't throw her out a helicopter.
No. We obviously don't advocate violence. You have to.
In Minecraft.
Yeah, in Minecraft, obviously.
Who the hell are you, man? Don't like the looks of this.
Oh, whoops.
Since we can't give her a free helicopter ride, then we might as well throw her out an airlock in Among Us.
Yeah.
You jumped out the window?
Yeah, I didn't mean to. I just can't.
I'll hit these things up here.
Yeah, I was like, no!
At least she was.
What's up, Liam Knight? Thank you for the baby Groot.
Guess it don't matter now.
I think you could actually fast travel back up here. There's
think
a
you're right.
fast travel point here.
Do I need to go up there?
Hard to make out the face.
Well, I'm hitting the things, and then he sends us off this way, I think.
Grab a security ID vault.
Yeah, I think you kind
Ride.
of do need to be up here to head in that direction.
Something tells me Sandy Cortez never said the N-word in public.
All right. We should check the security console.
Something tells me that that's the case.
Let's take a look.
I bet she said it in the bedroom.
I don't know what her boyfriend is. Or whatever they call them. Amalgamation of pronouns that fucks them. I don't know.
Hey, what the hell? How'd they find us?
Well, she doesn't count as a coal burner because she's not white.
I mean, technically Hispanics are white.
But I know
They're
detective.
Native American Hapas.
I've
I
got
mean,
something pretty
like
damn
they are white. They have European ancestry, specifically from Spain and Portugal. In fact, they probably have Middle Eastern heritage as well. Generally, if you think about the history of the Iberian Peninsula and how long it was occupied by the invading Caliphate hordes. I mean, like,
Designed it myself.
I would say the degree to which Hispanics are white depends on the amount of Aztec and Mayan blood they have in there.
no, I mean,
Because there's a lot. If you look at a lot of Mexicans, the short, stumpy brown ones, they look
well, I
nothing
mean,
like a
you
white
see a lot
person.
of like Chileans and Colombians. Like, I mean, you barely tell the difference. I mean, you look at someone that has African American grandparents, and some of them look no different. They usually have like
I mean,
curly hair or something. They
absolutely.
don't look
Like,
that different from you.
I've been down in Brazil, and there were some hot white Brazilian women.
Right, but those are Hispanics as well. Like, it's a spectrum of Hispanics. I mean,
He is a master of disguise and traps. And a hell of a
Oh yeah, I think we were supposed to jump out the window, but we had to hit all those
that's
things
one
in
thing
here
you can
first.
do. You can also walk out.
Agent D's been running a
But I'm just saying, you know, they do have European ancestry.
Yeah,
Those bandits won't be
it's very diluted though.
I mean, what are your thoughts? Is it one drop of blood, or does it have to be 50? Like, do you want to start that purity spiraling of like how much is, you know?
No, I actually I don't really do that. What I do is I tend to measure like how much they separate themselves from white people, and they do tend to vote
Right, but
against
that
the
was
interests of
that
whites.
was they were taught to do that. That was imposed on their culture. That wasn't them doing that. Like for decades, most Hispanic people were just like, yeah, we're white people, whatever. And when they were shown that their victim status could get them benefits and, you know, preferential treatment. I did see that, Alfarius. She did get 1 million subs. Congratulations, Gargara. Absolutely. Like that, the whole Latino movement. That was part of, I think, the 60s or 70s. You know, because it was like, well, we get treated better if we, you know, identify as this other group rather than identifying as they had for, you know, decades. It's just, oh, we're white people, whatever.
They get treated better, or they get more things from white people.
Yes, both.
And this gun is totally worth your self-respect.
I'm gonna get the sellout gun for us here real quick. Just have to die.
Oh, you have to fully die, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm hyped. Gargara got to 1 million subs. That's excellent.
Wow, you actually
Absolutely
did.
excellent.
You are a total
I mean, you might be right that it's a cultural thing more than a genetic thing. But I think that once a group starts defining themselves as in opposition to white people
Well, then the
or
question
in
becomes, can you
competition
change
with
that?
them,
can you reverse that trend, or can you, you know, kind of be like, hey, why don't we work together on this and understand that we're all better off if we're not, you know, shitting on each other and tearing each other apart? I mean, like, where do you focus? I mean, do you go insular, or do you try to work with other people? I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it, Al Ferris. I'm going to watch it probably after a meeting at work.
You could try to change their minds, but when it's just proving not to really be working for such a long period of time,
well, I mean,
and they still define themselves.
I could make the same argument about white people, that like people have been trying to rally them around on ethnic bounds for decades, and it hasn't worked. And what, should we just give up on them too? Like, did we just give up because it's not working? Like, because it's hard?
I don't think the majority of white people are voting against their own interests.
100%. Are you kidding me? What is it, 35% of the left? 35% are voting for the left? Like, absolutely, they're voting against it.
I mean,
and these are
the majority.
college-educated.
A large part.
These are college-educated people that should be smart enough to understand that they're more successful.
Well, I would think your previous argument actually applies to them more if they were pretty much indoctrinated into hating their own people.
Right, and this is what I'm saying.
I think it's easier to teach.
You're only willing to, you're giving up on the other group instead of way too easily, when people have been trying for years to unite people under the banner of like, hey, you know, let's look out for our interests and work against these outside forces, and that has not worked at all, right?
This writing is familiar.
I find that it's
I'm just saying,
easier
how much political
to.
power does that movement have, or that idea hold?
It's easier to convince white people to like their own
Hispanics are
people
white.
than to convince
But I'm saying Hispanics are white.
to like white.
They are. They have European ancestry. Like, by definition, they are white.
Some of them are.
No,
some of
they
them
have
are
European heritage. Like, I mean, that's to me, that's what defines someone as white, is that you have European
are
heritage.
the brown Mexicans who are 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide? Are they are they white people? Because
Well,
I really don't think
there
so.
are people that have just pure unbroken line of native heritage, but you know, we put them on reservations. But you know, Hispanics, like they do have European heritage, 100%.
Well, 100% is
Not. I mean, most of them like 56% or something, but like they do have European heritage. Not that it's 100% European heritage. I'm just saying they have some European heritage. And I'm just saying, like, if you applied, like, you could apply the exact same logic of, oh, we're just going to give up on them because they, you know, they just want to unite against us and not help us. When, you know, there's white people that do that every day, right? That, you know, ally against you and work against your interests as well, but you're willing to stick out your neck for those white liberals, but not for the Hispanics.
No, I'm not willing to stick out my neck for those people because they've made themselves just enemies. But
Tango
I think
says
you
northern
have,
Mexicans are actually
you
anywhere
have
from
to-
75 to 90% European genes.
You have to partition your efforts, though, and some groups are just more likely to support our interests than others.
Did you hear, though, that statistic that Tango put out there, that northern Mexicans are 75 to 90% European genes?
Well, that might be true.
That's where the
But
Spanish
they're
landed specifically.
they are different enough that they don't recognize themselves as anything like
Well, you're
us.
telling me if I brought you someone that was 3/4 to 80% European, you'd say, I give up on them because they have that 20 to 25% Hispanic, or the mestizo?
Well, the fact is, if they look nothing like us, they're not going to call themselves one
Why
of
not?
us.
I mean, there's plenty of white people that look nothing like me. There's
Because
plenty
that's
of
the
white
way
people that look
tribalism-
absolutely nothing like me, that have like disgusting red hair and freckles and shit. They look like a fucking
mean,
different-
believe me,
they look like
like I
aliens.
said,
they look
I-
like fucking
I did not-
aliens, okay? Like, that's not even the same species, basically. But they're still considered white.
I did not always think along these lines.
No, I know,
like,
but
I didn't
I'm just
want
saying,
to.
like, I
I
see a
wanted
ginger
to think
person
we're
that has
more
terrible
alike and
skin
everything, but
complexion and, you know, terrible, absolutely, be like terrible, like genetic, what do you call it? They got an extra chromosome, but like, I mean, like they look nothing like me. Like, I don't have any freckles. You know, I have blonde hair and blue eyes. I see someone with red hair or brown eyes, and that's nothing like me.
I mean, just if you could show me that there were actual results in trying to get the minority coalition against Whitey to support Whitey, then I would be all
Boy
for
says,
it.
cool it with the anti-gingerism. They're like an alien species, okay, Drum Boy 02.
I have had to accept that these people, for the most part, define themselves as our, if not our enemies, then in competition with us. And I just don't see, I don't see efforts
I'm just
spent
saying,
towards
there's
converting
a
them.
ton of white,
to-
not fellow white, but like white people that define themselves as against your interests 100%, right? That see themselves as the oppressors for some reason.
But then
I'm just saying, like, and they've done this for decades. You know, like, and they absolutely do. They don't care. They don't care that you look like them. They don't care that you share, you know, like features. That's like they don't care.
No, but it always comes back to the question where if we're returned to a less civilized
I'm just
state
saying,
of
like,
society,
you're understanding my point, right? Being obsessed over appearance, you know, it's the ideas
it's
that
not.
matter.
That's reductive.
No, it's not.
That's reductive. It's not just being obsessed.
It is
over
obsessed over
appearance.
appearance. Are you kidding me? Like Hispanics that share 75 to 90% of your genetics would look quite like you.
The simple fact of the matter is that if we're returned to something closer to a state of nature, if there's more
what?
competition for resources, if we go to war with each other, these people will divide themselves or they will unite against us because they will not see us as part of their group.
Why not?
They will look upon us and they will
would they
see
unite with
white
some other
people.
group?
And white people are not us.
Why would they unite
so
with some
they
other
are
group?
the
Why would they
opposition.
specifically unite against us? Why is that?
Because that is just what they have always done.
Oh, really? Is it? Always?
Show me an example where they have
Well, tell me
not
where it has.
in the history
Like, you're talking about
of
South
the country.
Africa, a country that's majority African. Like, you know...
South Africa is a good example.
And whites are an invasive species as far as they're concerned because they came from outside. Like, I mean, like...
No, actually, they are the blacks in South Africa are an invasive species as well.
No, they're native there.
Because
No, outsiders came there and, you know, imposed their will on them. I'm not saying... Like, you can argue whether or not they made their lives better or not. They did, absolutely, objectively.
No, those black people came after the white people came.
South Africa?
You
You're telling
understand
me
that?
these-
Yeah, do you understand that South Africa was not a populated territory?
South Africa was not a populated territory. You mean there were no tribes in South Africa?
Very little.
Okay, so there were people there, right?
For the most part, whites set that whole thing up, and that's
Well, I'm
when
just saying,
everybody
there were
started
people
moving
there,
south.
right? And they would look a lot like the people that eventually cleared out Whitey from there later, right? The people that originally inhabited South Africa.
Okay, well, you know.
I mean, isn't it true? Like, I mean, you're not saying that no
South
one
Africa
lived there, right?
It's difficult to argue about. It really is. Because if
Really?
I
Wait,
was
there really
to,
no
if I was
people
to
there
make
at
a
all in
suggestion
South
to
Africa?
South African
Like, it's by the coast. Like, you have, like, a coastline. People always develop along a coastline. Or arable land or water. Like, you're telling me there's none of that?
intelligent people do,
Closest
not
tribe is, like,
Africans.
50 Really?
I'm either dead or captured. But come find me anyway.
Are you sure about that, Tango?
Show me the African
Oh,
civilization.
well, I'm not
Show me a
gonna, I
single
don't have
one
to do
of
that. No, I can't do that. Listen, I live in reality,
I
okay?
mean,
but, like,
these are not people who would say, hey, let's move down to that coast because it's a better place to live. These are people who stay in the shitty places to live and starve.
Well, I mean, they're
Because
generally
they're
in
just not
constant
that
war
smart.
with other people there, and fighting over land, territory, and slaves for centuries. I'm not arguing they have a civilization. I just find it really surprising that there weren't tribes there. It just seems unlikely.
Well, this is what I've heard, and I actually doubt all of recorded history, but this is what I've been told
Well, yeah,
about
I
South
don't know.
Africa.
I don't really care about the history of Africa generally.
Yeah.
It's not really my concern. My country is America.
But my argument, as it pertains to me, is mostly related to America, Europe. In those places,
I mean, we had an
like
indigenous population
black
here.
and brown people do not ever see themselves as aligned with white people as a group.
I mean, India was ruled by the UK, and they fought in our wars with us for a while. That seems to be a bit counter, because I wouldn't argue that Indians are white. I mean,
I mean, you could always point out some
I mean,
exceptions,
that's the
and
largest country on the planet. The most humans, like on the planet, are in India. If you know, like me, and you don't accept the Chinese numbers on their population, you know that they're lying. I mean, it's not a small example.
I just picked up a legendary class
Ooh, I just
mod.
picked up a legendary class mod as well. Oh! The hell? Let's see. There we go. See, this is better than the one I got. +1, +2. It's the same one I have.
I mean, look, I'll say on that topic, I didn't want it to be this way. I didn't want to accept that, like, it's everybody against white people, and I wanted everybody to get along and sing Kumbaya.
I'm not saying it's not. I just think it's a bit, you know, it's a bit much to just say that that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, it seems a bit, it's a bit trying to, you know, be doomsday, you know, try and get urgency for, you know, identitarianism, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think identitarianism is urgent.
No, it's the focus on identitarianism. You'll have to remember that Europeans are not the majority of the population, correct?
Quick, find some cover. That traitor used
Europeans are not the majority of
The world population. Right.
Of the global population.
Is that true? Or is that not true?
Yes, that's true. That's true about the global population.
Right.
But that's not I'm just talking about how things should be in white countries.
It's also going to be that more than half the population is non-European in the U.S. So why, in an identitarian context, would they ever work with Europeans if you move towards identitarianism?
How the traitor's gonna pay?
They're
And you
not
also
going
agree,
to,
right,
and
that
that's
35% of people
they're not
can
working
never
with
be
Europeans,
convinced, right?
so we need
No,
identitarianism.
but you also agree with me, right, that 30 to 35% of brainwashed lefties will never be convinced of identitarianism, right?
They will when
Nope. These people are
their
having their
doors are
cities
being
burned.
kicked.
They're being murdered in the streets. Still, hasn't changed any of their minds. I haven't seen a single one of them renege on it. Nope.
It's not happening to enough of them. Like, so many of them still believe that it's not happening
Right,
in the streets.
and they're going to keep believing that. They're going to keep believing that because they didn't get reasoned into their leftist beliefs. They're not going to get reasoned out of it.
I got reasoned into the beliefs I have now.
Right, and your belief holds no power politically at all, like at all, anywhere in the world. And nowhere in the world does anyone support
Well, I mean,
European identitarianism.
if your argument is that
globally,
if your argument is that all the black people and the brown people can be convinced to be on the side of whitey,
no, I didn't say
then
that. Well,
then-
hold on, I never said that. Not once. I just said that Hispanics are European.
okay.
No,
But
I didn't. I'm not making an argument like that. That seems.
But
dumb.
your whole point in implying that is to say that they can be convinced to side with us.
Tango, I'm not talking about like independents and people in the middle. Okay, that were pushed rightward by these riots. Yes, there are plenty of those people. I'm talking about dyed-in-the-wool leftists that are true believers. I'm talking about like people like Spencer's parents. You know, those people were not convinced of this because they still don't believe it. But yeah, you're right. No, there's a lot of centrists and middle-of-the-road people that are convinced of it.
I was born and raised in New Jersey and New York, where most people here are liberals. I was taught to be a liberal in schools for my whole life, and I actually was pretty brainwashed in the liberal way of thinking. It was because I was by default not a political person, and I just kind of defaulted to what I was taught in school. But when I did start thinking politically, and I did start thinking about the interests of my people.
Your people.
It was
Polacks, Germans, French, Russians, British, the Irish, Polish. Like what?
Yeah.
These people that have been killing
What
each
about-
other for hundreds of years, they're all gonna just get along?
They did get along in America pretty well after
Are you
they
kidding
settled
me?
in. And,
have you ever seen Gangs of New York? Have you ever fucking seen
Yes,
the way the Irish were treated when they
have,
first
but
came
how
here?
long-
How we
that-
shit on the Germans?
that
We
was
literally
not
enslaved
forever.
Irish people here. Like, you're telling me they got along before? They enslaved Irish people. They had them as indentured servants.
I'm saying they assimilated. Show me the black community that is assimilated. Show me the Hispanic community that has assimilated.
How long have they had agency? How long have they been a free people in the North? I mean, it's a shorter period of time than the Irish. You know, the Irish never got civil rights. They didn't have the disruptive influence of civil rights and other ridiculous laws that are hindering their ability to assimilate.
Yeah, I mean, but what are you arguing? Keep selling civic nationalism to them until they convert?
No,
and,
not at all.
And how long will that
Not
take?
at all.
How long
Absolutely
will white
not.
people be bred out for during that process?
Absolutely not. I'm not arguing that at all.
Take out those COVs.
I'm not arguing that
So
at all.
I mean, but you're arguing that
I'm arguing
Hispanic
what you're doing
people
isn't working
are.
and won't work. I'm not arguing that I have a solution that will work. I just know that yours cannot work. That's the problem.
Why do you think that white identity cannot work?
It just can't. It's too unpopular. It's too easily beaten. It's too easily set astray.
Was
it's
that
way too easy.
okay? Now I'm
It's way
going
too
to
easy
ask the same
control.
question.
It's so easy to
I'm gonna
control
ask.
and organize against it and destroy it. Like, it's
I'm
so
gonna
easy.
ask you the same question that you asked me before. Was it always that way?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of when there was like identitarianism. I mean, Hitler was German nationalism. It wasn't about white people. It was specifically about German
America
people.
was an
It based on a
explicitly
national
white
identity.
country for most of its
It was
history.
based on a national identity, not based on the color of their skin. It was 100% based on what country they were born in.
No, it was couched in
Nope, it
terms
was
of
completely
civic
based on-
identity.
Why
but
were they
it was,
murdering the
it
French in
was-
droves? Why were they murdering the British in droves? Why were they killing American
Well,
soldiers
that doesn't
on their
mean that they
shores in
liked all
droves?
white people, but it was
They were,
it was
what,
implied
who were they
that,
fighting and killing every day? Were they killing non-white
but-
people? No, they were killing
But
white
was
people
it
every day in
was it
Germany.
not a part of the American charter that this
What does
was
that-
a nation
I'm just
a
explaining
nation
where
for?
clearly did not. That was clearly not Europeans looking out for Europeans. That was Europeans murdering other Europeans and lighting an entire continent in flames twice.
Absolutely, and I think there was some other
Right. So you're
influences
just
in
going to
that,
blame it
but-
on this other magical group instead of the fact that Europeans cannot unite together because they hate each other.
Was America not an explicitly white country in its
Yes, it was
founding
originally
and well
occupied
into
by
its history?
Europeans.
Dropships come in day in and day out.
And
See, those cultists are running an organ.
Okay, so what changed about this country was that in the 60s we started allowing in non-white peoples in
I mean, they
droves,
let them in
and
before.
that's what
They had
that's
the,
what
They
changed.
had the Chinese in to build the railroads. They had Hispanics always pouring in before that. It wasn't just magically one act that happened. I mean, people were coming regardless.
Yeah, but they were not a significant enough number. The population was over 90% white for most of the history of this country. It was changed in the 60s, and that's when it became more important for white people to unite in their
Okay,
interests.
and they
When
never
we were
did. They've had 50 years. What's going to change now?
Why you're saying that white people have had their interest have had
They've
50,
had 50
years,
years
to
of
act their
things
interests.
against their interests, and they have made no changes.
And Hispanics have had 50 years to start acting in the interests of the majority of this country, but they will
Well,
not.
of course not. They act in the interest of themselves. Everyone is self-interested.
Okay, so why should white people not be convinced to be self-interested as well?
I don't see evidence that they can.
See, I mean,
I don't see evidence that they
I don't
can.
believe
You know,
that's
like it
true.
doesn't seem like it's going to happen, and it seems like a waste of energy and time to try and do it.
The people before the 60s knew that this
Did they?
country would
Did they?
change if this country was not majority
But did
white.
they act?
They had that forced upon them. My grandmother,
Yes,
my grandmother
I know,
stood.
but did they
in-
act? Did they riot in the
my
streets
grandmother
like the blacks did over
protested
civil
against
rights?
the busing and the forced
No,
integration.
but what I'm asking you is, did they riot in the streets like blacks did over civil rights? No, they didn't. They didn't have the will to do it. And I don't see
'cause
why
we're
that.
not as
I don't see
violent
why
as
that's
them.
changed at all. Well, if you add in like all the debilitating, culturally soy stuff that's happening, like I haven't seen anything to indicate that that's changed at all. In fact, I think it's gotten worse. We may have had a chance in the 60s. They weren't self-interested from the 40s to 70s. I think they were to an extent. I just think that they weren't willing to do. They weren't willing to unite under the banner of identitarianism then, and I don't see it happen. That's why I think it's a waste of time and energy. Because all it does is get your life destroyed, and you get to be a martyr for nothing. That's just personally the way I see it. It's like complete a waste of time, and you can better your
I
own
don't know.
life.
I've seen quite a lot of people be converted over to this way of thinking in the last 10 years or so, and I'm one of
Okay,
them.
so what's the political power of that movement? What change has it done?
I hate these sickos and you're a
Nothing
real
yet.
Nothing, because it will never do anything. Like, there's no evidence that it can do anything.
That's a very defeatist mindset.
No, I think you can find other solutions. What they
Okay,
are,
well-
I have no idea what they are.
But yeah, you don't. I mean, but you don't know what they are, and you're ready to give up on white people ever organizing around their own interests.
Fend 'em off while the
But-
scanner
Because it's been
rolls
60
But
years.
you're not well. Wait. You're ready to give up on white people organizing around their own interests, but you're not willing to give up on Hispanics organizing
I'm
around
just
their
saying, if
interests.
you're going to try and unite European peoples, you shouldn't just throw out European peoples because they look unlike you.
It's not just a matter of how they
Well,
look.
they're genetically
If
similar.
they-
Some of them are 80 to 90%
If they exhibited
similar.
behaviors that showed they were on our side in any
80 to
way,
90% genetically similar. If the obsession is with their genetic similarity to you, then
first of all, it's not fair to characterize it as an
I
obsession.
mean it is. I mean, what's the qualifier of the group? Is it what they do or who they are?
It's what they define themselves as in
so it's who they
opposition
are.
to us. It's who they are, yes. It's
Okay.
who we are, it's who they are, it's who everybody is.
Okay, so then
I'm not
it is
sure what you're
obsessed
getting
with
at there.
their genetics, rather than what they do.
Well, I mean, everybody is a product of their genetics.
Phenotypes and genetics are different things, Tango. Oh, my alternative, Tango? Oh no, get guns, get armed, and get ready for the shit to hit the
By
fan.
the way, my ID stashed in
100%.
my-
I mean,
That's the
you're-
solution.
Clay says you're hunting down
Your
this
argument
traitor.
is give up on white people.
No,
I'm gonna stick around and shoot COV.
no, not at all.
Nice meeting ya.
I mean, that's all I hear from you.
No,
to
that's
tell
not at
you the
all.
truth.
My argument is that identitarianism hasn't worked and isn't working. My argument is insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
But we
You
actually have
you
seen
are
a
getting
change
the exact
in the
same
results.
results.
We're getting opposition, but
You're getting the
any
exact
stance
same
you take,
results of everything you're doing, right? I mean, are you moving the football forward at all? Or are you still on the 5-yard line? You know, and keep scoring own goals on yourself.
what's the alternative?
I don't know. Come up with a solution. Stay armed. Stay ready to deal with things when they come to you. You know,
That's all the
be a
ID.
lion. Make people afraid of you. I mean, like that's
Now back to
pretty much what you're supposed to do.
Time activate the loot tracker.
Okay, and uniting and forming groups and becoming a force to be reckoned with, which people would be afraid of. That
No,
couldn't
people don't fear
possibly
them. Are you
involve
kidding me? They
anything
get-
like
Are
having
you
a
kidding
group
me?
identity.
Like, if they even remotely start moving towards that, they take away your ability to bank. They take away your ability to get home. They take your ability away to have a job in the real world and become like.
I mean,
become
but
depersonal.
saying that the enemy is defeating you is not a reason to say stop fighting.
No, but you gotta fight smarter. You know, and talking in the open like this is a dumb way to, you know, get yourself
Let them
destroyed.
hear your rage.
That's what I'm saying. You have to understand that you are a insurgent. You are not an armed force. You're not an equal
Well,
force.
you know something? The way I see it is somebody like me who is just a blue-collar schlub, maybe I could afford to speak a little more
Right.
clearly about the
Right,
truth.
but there's a ton of people that can't.
Just kidding. Don't.
And what I'm telling you is, you have to fight like an insurgent. You can't fight like, you can't say we're gonna march in the field and we're gonna fight with swords, because they're just going to shoot you in the face.
No, but I'm pretty decent with it.
You are pretty decent with a sword. They're still gonna shoot you before you get within 20 yards of them.
Just making a joke about that, but
I mean, it's the truth. You know, they're gonna shoot you with a gun. You know, you're gonna say we're gonna have a fair fight and fight with swords in this field, and they're just gonna go, okay, they're gonna bring a gun and shoot me.
But I don't think having a group identity is analogous to like antiquated weapons.
No,
Like, do
no,
you-
it's
do you
not.
think
It's
we
a
have reached a
liability
point in
usually.
history
I mean,
where-
you have a bunch of people that think that only associate that wrongly, of course, you know, with like Nazis and other things. Like it's just you're kind of instead of promoting positive values to people and promoting them to raise their kids, teach them good values, instead just let's all group up together and try to be a family based on characteristics none of you have control over.
Without further ado, Learn that from a guy I killed.
I mean, is that where we're at though? That anytime something can be used against us, we need to stop wielding that weapon.
I mean, if it's not an effective weapon, yes.
Good to be back in the field.
If it's not getting any positive or meaningful change, and it's wasting people's time and getting people cut out of everything, the ability to bank and live good lives, then yeah, that sounds to me like it's a noose around your neck rather than a tool that you're using.
So should we stop people getting shot by criminals by getting rid of guns?
No, we should get people to have more guns and shoot back.
Right. So the liberals and the racial coalition against Whitey are defeating us exactly by using racial identitarianism against us. So why should we not wield that same weapon against them?
Because it doesn't work. It doesn't work when you use it. That's the problem. Because Europeans are not a united identity to the same degree as Hispanics and Africans, because the Africans in America lost their ethnic and national identity when they came here and amalgamated as a single entity because of their bondage and treatment. Hispanics, the same deal. They amalgamate in the same areas.
Is your argument seriously that they see themselves as different from us simply because they feel oppressed by
Whitey? We see
Whitey?
ourselves as no one, a people of no land. And that's not something
And they
we
see
solve in a
they see
generation.
themselves
That's
as
something that
opposed
takes
to us simply
generations.
because they can get something from us. It's not because
It's something
Whitey
that
hurt
takes
them in the
generations
past.
to fix. It's not something you can fix in your lifetime or my lifetime.
Oh, absolutely, I will agree with
This is my
that.
point.
But
This is
but
why
is-
if you
is
promote
not
good
be-
values
is-
and teach people to be good, then you will have better
Yeah, and
success.
I
They will
think
be
part
receptive.
of that good value is to teach people to value their racial and
Right. They're
cultural
arbitrary
identity.
things they're born with. They have no control over, and literally mean nothing. Are functionally meaningless.
No, they
Their
are not
history is
functionally
what's important.
meaningless
Their
because
heritage is
they
what's
can
important.
you could simply look at the outcomes in the
What
world,
their-
and you
what
can
their
look at that.
ancestors did
You
is
can,
what
you can look at
matters,
the
not
fact
who
that
they are.
where white people have created civilizations, they are clearly better places to live than the places that any other racial group has ever built in this world.
I disagree.
That is
Japan
something to
a
be proud of.
magical- A magical fucking world compared to America. Are you kidding me?
I would disagree
Oh my
with
gosh,
that
Japan
too.
is the most
These are
amazing.
people who are
If
living in
you-
tiny
if
little
you
boxes
live
and
in a
have to get
major
shoved
city in
onto
America, you have no idea. Like Japan is like on a different planet. It's like an alien species built that society. It's so clean. People.
I would
people
agree with
treat
that
you like a
second
human
statement.
being. Like there's no one shits in the street. There's no. I mean, the homeless
No,
people
it's,
live
it's
in
not. It's
refrigerator
not that
boxes.
clean. I think you're seeing.
like a-
I think you're seeing I think you're seeing a rose-tinted view
I've
of
been to the
Japan because
countryside. I've been to
there
poor
are
communities
places
in
where
Japan.
people are
I've been to
fucking
the
in little
richest cities
corners
in
next to vending
Japan.
machines.
I've lived in Tokyo. Like I've been all over Japan, and their culture is superior to ours in every way. Superior to ours
Their
in
culture
every
is
single way.
superior. Like
It is superior.
like the
like,
suicide rates. Is that an indication of a superior culture?
What is?
A forest full of people who hung themselves because they couldn't handle being shoved into this.
Okay, so you're gonna argue that the people in Appalachia killing themselves over opioid addiction, that's any different than, depressed people that didn't function in their society offing themselves, right? At least they're not supporting a drug
Well,
trade
it's
that's
a
killing
matter
bunch
of
of
it's
young
a matter
people.
of rates and degrees.
What are you talking about? The
Asian
opioid
countries
crisis. Do you
have,
know how
like,
many
10
people have been
times
killed by the opioid crisis in America? Mostly white people too.
Oh, I know it's a
Well,
problem.
I'm just saying, like, you're telling me that that's any different than the suicide forest, where people are just going and offing themselves, right?
No, it's not different, and they're not better.
No, their culture is very better. Their streets are clean. Their people are respectful. Like, it's a completely superior culture. Their degeneracy is properly segmented off into its own corner. Like, they're 100% a superior culture to Europeans anywhere. Superior to the Swedish.
They don't have
superior to the
guns.
Norwegians.
They don't have an army.
Way superior
Anybody
to the
in the world
British.
could trample over their nation.
There
with
is
problem.
there is no city in Japan that has a murder rate comparable to London, to Los Angeles, to New York, to any city, even small towns, even nice small
That's
towns.
largely due to racial homogeneity.
Right, it's their culture. It's their culture.
Well, that's the part of our culture we
and
need to
Japan
get back.
is not
because
racially
we used
homogenous.
to-
There
we
are
used to
a
have
good
cultures
portion of
like that.
Koreans there too.
White people didn't used to let a million different outsiders into their country.
Right, and letting outsiders in that don't have resources is always bad.
Absolutely.
Do not insult
And have
Glorious
it-
Nippon, you filthy gaijin. Thank you, Alfarius.
and letting different groups ruin the high trust society that's created by racial homogeneity
Yes.
is it's just not very wise, and that's where we need to get back to.
Right, but you're never going to get there. It's my problem. It's not pragmatic.
That's a defeatist.
It's
that's
just
a
not
defeatist
pragmatic.
mindset. It's,
Like, we've had 50 to 60 years to suss this out. Like, it's been happening.
50
People have been
years
seeing
is
it in real
nothing.
time. And, you know, nothing's being done to change. There is no political will to do that. And nothing convinces me that that's going to change anytime soon.
There's no political will to do that because the people of this country are not the ones in power.
Yeah, that's how politics works. That's how politics works everywhere. That's the point of politics. The point of politics is to protect the powerful from consequences. The point of politics is to extract resources for whoever's elected and to make them wealthy off their backs. I mean, that's what feudalism was. Feudalism was organizing society in a way that benefited the elite and got them protection and made the farmers stay in line. Like, that's the point of politics. It always has been. It always will be.
Jabber's saying the fragment's just up there.
Oh, come up here, meat thief.
Now you're getting into the real politic, but
Let's get that fragment. And find out
I don't think that because it has mostly been that way that we couldn't arrive at a better place.
I mean, where has it? Where has it been in the interest of the people? Politics.
There has never been a time when it has been completely
I'm not saying
in the
completely.
interest
I'm
of
just
people,
asking
but there
for
have
like
been
maybe 30 or 40%.
there have been better times in America. There have been much better
I'm just
times
asking
in
for like
America
30-40%
and
of
in
my
European
interest.
countries.
It's never been close to that. Not just talking about my lifetime. Most people's lifetime.
It's never been close to what?
Like just almost 50% in my interests. Like, it's never been in my interest in my lifetime.
Not in your lifetime,
And it's
not
never
in
in my
life.
parents' lifetime either.
Archimedes?
In my parents' lifetime is when it started sliding
Are you
downhill.
kidding me? They sent people off to die in Vietnam, Korea, Iraq. Not Iraq. It was Desert Storm 1. That was...
I mean, absolutely, I'm in agreement with you about these things.
That's why I just don't see, you know, I don't see a political solution for this.
I mean, well, we might be in agreement about that too, that there may not be a political solution.
And that's why the importance is surviving and accumulating resources to defend yourself and defend the people you love and care about.
But I believe part of convincing our people to do that is convincing them to recognize they need to recognize that they are a targeted group. You can't recognize that you're a targeted group if you can't even recognize that you are a group.
You can't recognize that you're a targeted group. What does that even mean?
That means that for our people to feel the need to even get themselves ready to defend themselves as a group, they need to be aware that their group is under attack. And for them to be aware of that, they need to be aware that they are a group. They are a distinct group. I'm
How has
sorry?
convincing them of that worked?
But I didn't take it. Montgomery Jacobs?
It hasn't worked too well.
Okay, and
But that
so,
doesn't mean it
so
can't work.
basically, would you throw out the rooftop Koreans?
So when you and Wainwright are ready to make a move, you let
Would I throw out the rooftop
The Koreans in the LA riots that defended their stores with rifles on the top of their store from the ensuing riots? Would you just say, yeah, you're on your own, fuck off?
Hunter, I am told you have recovered another vault key fragment.
That would actually depend more on their numbers. This is not their country.
Sure, but we blew the fuck out of their country, and that's why they're here at all.
That's
Our soldiers went in there and
that was
destroyed
not a
their country,
choice
and our
of the
leaders
American
did
people.
that. That's why they're here. And I mean, like,
That
if
is-
you
that
think
is
from that
the-
perspective, I mean, what if your ancestors only came here 50 years ago and you're European? What if your ancestors
Well,
came
the
here
sa- the
20
same-
years ago and you're European? Is it your country because other people were here? And you haven't contributed anything to build it, but just by virtue of the color of your skin, you're more connected to this country than someone that's been here for 60 or 70 years? Like, I have ancestors that go back to the Revolution. Okay,
So do I.
all right.
Relief.
So you're telling me that some European that showed up 30 years ago has more purchase to this land or the same purchase to this land as me? No, fuck off. I built this country. My ancestors fought and bled for this country and made it what
No,
it
I'm
is.
not. I'm not saying
That's
that,
why
but I'm
that's
saying
why
that
the obsession over skin
sa-
color seems dumb.
I'm saying that they belong here more than, more black people that are gonna hate whitey.
Well, what if we brought these Koreans back in the 60s and they work hard, they have businesses, they support the country, Don't they have more
And then
purchase
when
this
things
land
get
than someone
wrong,
that
they're
got here
gonna
10
side
years
with
ago?
the coalition against Whitey.
I'm just saying, like, don't they have more purchase this land than someone who got here 10 years ago? Just because of the color of their
Nobody.
skin?
If things get tough, and I know that this group is going to side against my group, then no, they don't belong here.
Why would you say that? They were on the roof shooting people that were trying to rob their stores. I think they understand what happens, okay?
See if my
I think they
knife fits in
understand
your
what
side.
happens.
And then how do they vote?
Koreans? I think it's like 40-60 maybe. It's still bad. It's not good. It's definitely not good. But
See, that's the thing. I would be
it's a
more
lot better than
inclined to welcome
1090 or
Asians.
3070.
I would be more inclined to welcome Asians if I didn't see them constantly siding with the people who hate
I
Whitey.
think that you're just seeing a lot of women now.
This should help.
And Earthworm Jim says, to be fair, 70% of white women vote leftist. He's right, you know.
Yeah, and that's a problem too.
You know, I think it's right-wing Asians vote. They vote more. There's more percentage, I think, of right-wing Asian men than there are left-wing white women.
I think we're just supposed to go back to Sanctuary now.
Correct. We can just do that from the map. I'll do that.
I mean, look, I don't have the solutions either, but I don't feel like I feel like part of what has made our people unhealthy is that they have stopped thinking of themselves as having their own interests as a group. You need to be able to recognize a problem in order to address the
Is
problem.
Napoleon,
Bring the
Bismarck,
fragment to my lap.
Hitler, Churchill, all these leaders putting us against each other and murdering each other for centuries. Like, I think that's what's made our people ill. Like, killing each other for so long that we have no unified heritage or whatnot. Like, we don't identify with each other. We're not a family. This is just Borderlands 3 Earthworm Jim. Oh wait, you're back to Earthworm Jim. Oh, cool. You know, I think that years of dysgenic Europeans, you know, killing each other over and over again. Women are to blame for everything. You're not wrong, Alfarius. Alright, Tannis.
I mean, frankly, I do see that the biggest traitors against our people have been women, unfortunately. They vote against us. They vote against their own children.
Well, yeah.
They vote to
This
let.
is the nature of women. Like, all women. Like, they're... In nature, when the tribe gets conquered, the men are all killed, the men and boys are all killed, and the women are taken as prizes, and then they have to live and adapt in that society. It's an adaptive trait that women have. That is why they survive.
What they want.
See, Earthworm Jim knows what's going on. The hybridization, that's the solution.
It's why they've survived. Now, I don't think that is necessarily an adaptive.
I think so. That's how you survive. I mean, if they would kill themselves rather than, you know, mate with the conquering population, that people like that, there probably were women like that. And guess what? They didn't pass on their genes because them and their sons and husbands were all killed. So, like, the genetic propensity for defiance has been bred out of
So
women.
what now, Lilith?
I'm only based on I talk about women. Well, thank you,
Wainwright
Tango.
knows where the final key fragment is.
Mm.
Go for the vault. This time,
You might have a
those
point
guys
there.
I don't know. Like, I think though that, like, you know,
pretty
like,
revved up.
women definitely muck up the equation when it comes to anything remotely identitarian, and it's not.
Good luck,
It is their
Don't
fault,
worry, I
but it's
got
in their
this ship
nature.
on
You know, that's the thing.
lockdown, baby.
What have you walked into, Squirrels? Oh, just a autistic conversation. But thank you, Squirrels over on Trovo. I'm actually about to finish up right now. 'Cause I gotta
I mean,
get to work.
I find this as frustrating as you do, man. I think that the best.
Hold on.
The best solution.
Hold the phone. Earthworm Jim is celebrating a 3-month sub streak. Earthworm Jim, thank you for your continued support of the Ghost Gang, the Spectre Squad, the Poltergeist Posse, the Haunted Hullabaloo, the Boo Crew, the Corporeal Corporation, the Undead Underground. Thank you, Earthworm Jim, for continuing this ectoplasmic experience that is the Ghost Gang. And remember, Earthworm Jim, the only way in and out of this gang is in a body bag. Thank you so much.
And sorry, folks in the chat. I don't know if at any point anybody's been talking to me. I got so wrapped up in between this conversation and the video games, I
think
can't.
most of the chat was
also,
agreeing with you. I know my audience well. But thank you so much, Earthworm Jim, for your continued support. No, I'm actually I gotta go back to work now. Squirrels.
I mean, you're not wrong in saying identitarianism hasn't worked, and you're not wrong in saying that it may not be the solution. But I'm just gonna say that I haven't seen a better solution
Sure,
presented to me yet.
and you know, I believe that. I believe that you haven't seen a better solution. You know, the answer is I don't know the solution. I usually think like there's an infinite spectrum of ideas and things that you could go about to address these problems. I just don't know what it is.
Oh, and absolutely,
My
and I
energy
am
is for
actually
survival and doing well. You know.
I'm actually a person who's willing to have my mind changed. I've
Well, and I'm
I've
not
had my
trying
mind
to
changed,
I'm not
and
trying
that's
to
why I've
convince you of
arrived
that. I'm
here.
just telling you the reality is, unfortunately, it's an easy way to have your life destroyed. And like, I'm not trying to give you the gay Tim Heidegger discussion of like, oh, you can turn your life around. I'm not going to make that. You know, like you're an adult. You can make your own decisions. Okay. You can make your own decisions. You can make your own choices. Okay. Like you have to decide what's best for you. And what's best for survival.
Like I don't think it's a worthwhile argument to say that you have to live with the stress of keeping your thoughts to yourself.
I mean, you do. Like that's actually absolutely true. Like that's.
You could always find some medium in which you can express yourself, like I'm doing now. I'm not doing this. I'm not walking around.
Oh, you're not
on
going to
the
walk
job
down
site.
Fifth Avenue and say, "Can I talk to you about saving our?" You know, like you're not going
right.
to do that.
I mean, I'm not on a soapbox in
But
in
that's
Central
what I'm
Park,
telling you is that like it's they will. It's very easy. Like it's very easy to get your life canceled and ruined. So that's kind of just like I'm just saying.
I mean,
that, like,
I am
from the
in a
perspective of
position where it's
survival,
less.
you know.
I am in a position where it's actually less likely to happen to me because I'm a tradesman.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, but then still.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure they'll try to find a way, but then who's gonna build their shit?
I mean,
I guess
other
the
people,
immigrants,
other
but then it's not
people-
going to be
other people
very
that are
well
willing
built.
to keep their mouth shut is what'll happen. You know, like
I think the people who think like them aren't even willing to do the kind of work I do.
there's plenty of people that just nod their head and say, I want to be left alone. I've got kids. I don't want their lives ruined over stuff I say on the internet. There's plenty of people that will sit by and comply. Singing the
Yeah.
tune of our enemies? I mean, I'm just living in reality. Like, like I don't want it to be. I'm not saying I want it to be reality. I'm just saying that all indications are that this is reality.
I'm just saying that I'm not that type of man. I'm not someone who wants to live a life in fear of expressing myself. That's what it's like to live in some communist nation.
I mean, but
And
it's almost
it
worse
might
here.
lead to my destruction. They might fucking ruin me one day, but I can't just be fake my whole life. I can't do that. Like, I would rather die.
I mean,
Because
yeah. I mean, I wish you the best of luck. It's just I don't.
Because that's not being yourself. You're not living.
Oh,
them.
that's just gay. Oh, be yourself. I don't want people that come with like, oh, be yourself. Like, no.
No, I don't
Like
necessarily
this
mean
whole
it that
notion
way.
of, oh, just be yourself, express yourself. No, survive.
I mean, maybe it's my autism, but I actually I feel anxiety when I have to keep my thoughts bottled up inside.
I mean,
That's suffering. That's living in suffering.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't really care about people's mental state or even my own mental state. Okay, I'm a sociopath. You have to understand. Like I'm a fucking sociopath. I can barely even relate with humans.
You might not. You might say that jokingly.
No.
You might mean
No,
that.
I absolutely mean it. Like I'm a crazy.
I'm
a
telling
crazy
I'm
fucking
telling you
person,
this.
Okay?
Let me give you some older man advice right now. Shit like that will catch up to you. You'll keep it bottled up inside, and it will eat away at you.
Nah, I like being me.
Like even just the way you deprive yourself of sleep, that's going to catch up with you when you're in
that's
your
a
30s.
physiological condition, 100%. But like, I mean, like, no, I mean, like, it's cathartic. It's cathartic to be an
Amina
outsider.
says you should. Amina said you should be yourself, the guy who has 400 identities.
I mean, I don't have 400 identities. I don't.
I mean, I find our, I've found it engaging the few times you and I clash antlers about these things. You're
Are we
challenging my
suddenly Abby
viewpoints.
talking about antlers? Sorry.
I mean, you're challenging my viewpoints, and that's always good to have your views challenged. I'm not saying I necessarily have the best way of thinking about these things. I just think that this is the best thing we've come up with so far. It's at least red pilling some people. It's waking some people up.
Yeah, I guess just where I come from is like if your enemy gets to destroy you, then you know they've won. And I'm a gamer, so I'm all about winning. I'm all about winning, you know, like.
Why? What am I being harsh about, Ominous? I'm just teasing you about your sock accounts.
I mean, yeah, as long as you're following mine, I'm okay with that, Ominous. I'm a self-interested person. I'm good with that.
I'll forgive you for having your sock accounts. Okay.
There's a horse head. I didn't know there was a horse head I could wear. Let's see.
You should be using the one that I bought you a sub on. That's kind of a kick in the teeth that I bought you to sub, and then you go on these non-subbed accounts.
No, what he should do is he should save more lemons and sub on that account as well.
No, that's what he said to me. I said, "Why don't you use the one I gave you a sub on?" And he says, "Just give me a sub on this one." And I'm like, "Ah, fuck you."
Next time.
Yeah, I guess my last question before I take off is, I'm according to my Ancestry.com stuff, Johnny, I'm 0.5% Jewish, so less than 1%. Am I still white?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, how much does it have to be?
There's some Spurgs who would say I'm not white because I have some Italian.
I would say so.
Or a lot of Italian.
Meds are not white, definitely.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, like, you know, like, what percent does it become?
I'm actually less focused on the genetic aspect as I am about manifest behavior.
Okay, so it's not
I
who
just
they are,
think
it's what
that
they
certain
do?
groups have identified themselves as their enemies.
So you're saying it's not who
as
they
our
are, but what they
enemies.
do?
It's actually more what they do,
Okay.
yes. And I think what they
then-
do is
But
actually
what
a
I'm
genetic
getting at
trait.
is then why focus on uncontrollable characteristics and focus on people that are willing to listen to you?
Because you can identify groups that are
But
more
then
willing
you're
to
trying to
listen
use
to
genetics to get people to listen to you instead of just like talking with people. Like it's a much harder process to get to know people, to talk to them, to meet them as people and vet them that way than it is to just go, just look at their skin and try to determine who your allies are. And what I'm
Well, sometimes you have to act on large numbers at the same
Right,
time,
but
and you
it
can't.
seems like,
vet
but it
each
seems like the
individual.
idea is that you want to take out that step and then try to unite people on an uncontrollable characteristic based on some victimhood mentality. Kind of
Well,
how women
it's not
act.
based on victimhood
I was saying, it
mentality.
sounds
It's
like what
based
women
on conflict.
I know, but it sounds like what women do, and that works for women because they have vaginas and they produce children and they control access to and from sex. Like the problem is,
I mean,
you
but
have
it's
the stick, you
it's
don't
what
have the
every
honey.
group does against
I'm
us.
just saying you don't have the honey that makes that equation work.
Okay, so you're saying that we need to sell this whole identitarian thing with more vaginas?
I mean, that would be a start. That would help. Like that would honestly work better than like just being like you're a victim. Like the part of the reason the victimhood mentality works is because they have something to offer and people want access. You have to sell them access to
it's
something
not
they want.
victimhood. It's identifying
But it
an
is.
enemy that has defined themselves
but
as an
it
enemy
is. You
again.
said that you have to convince them that they are a target. They're targeted and they're being attacked. You have to convince them of their victimhood to make them unite as a class of victims, right?
Because that's what every other group is doing against
Right.
us.
But is that working for those groups?
Yes,
Is it?
absolutely. That's
really?
how they are
what's
kicking our
the
ass.
percentage of African Americans that go to jail every year and get killed in the streets by each other? Would you do you define that as working? Like, is it working for them? Is this strategy working for them, or are they balkanized?
It's how they're
and not
getting
doing
more
well?
for themselves from us.
No, but you seem to be arguing this ridiculous exceptionalism that just because we're genetically different, if we tried this, we're going to end up any better than them.
Well, actually, see, I mean, that depends on how you define working.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's working. I don't think this victim mentality is working for them as a culture. And like,
But is it working for them to make their lives better? No. Is it working for them to defeat Whitey?
no, but like, who
Yes.
cares if you defeat a group? If your whole goal is on defeating groups and you're not making yourselves better, then you're not doing anything useful.
Well, their goal is to defeat us. Our goal should be not to be defeated by
Right,
them.
but my point is, if your strategy is to just try and make a tactic that defeats them, even if it's not going to make your lives better, you're not going to sell people. You have to give them hope.
It will make our lives better if we
It
defeat the
hasn't
people who are
made
trying to
it hasn't
destroy
made their
us.
lives better for those groups. It absolutely
For
has
those
not.
groups, I don't care about those
Well, this
groups
is my
because
point.
they're trying
like,
to
you're
destroy
not just
us.
magically different because of your genetics. You are different, but it's not just doesn't magically work because you have an average IQ of 100 versus an average IQ of 95 or 80.
Well, no, I believe there's more
But I'm
to
saying, like, this is why people are what matter.
person than
Like
IQ.
the people that you work with are what matter. You know, like it doesn't matter like arbitrary characteristics. It matters if they're receptive to ideas and can be taught.
Well, these are not arbitrary characteristics.
what's
These
not
are very
arbitrary
relevant characteristics. It's the way that they are organizing themselves against us. They see
Right,
these
but they're not getting
characteristics
anything, they're not
as
getting better off from it.
they're not getting better off from it, but
I mean,
we
like,
are
their
getting
families
worse
were
off.
more
from it.
secure in the 60s and 70s. Oh, you could make all manner of argument that they were doing much better then.
They don't see. Do you understand that they don't care if Whitey can make
Right,
their
and
lives better?
I'm not convinced that magically being whitey means that this will work for us, but it has not worked for these groups. Like there is no exceptionalism. It doesn't magically just work.
The way that is working for those groups is that they are using it to defeat
Right, and
us.
they're
They don't
losing.
care
They are
about having
losing.
Whitey make
They
their
are
lives better.
losing.
They
As a
care about
culture
what
and a
they can do
society,
to
they have
defeat
destroyed
Whitey.
their communities. Their cities are unlivable.
That's
They have
not their
inhumane
goal.
conditions
Their goal
that they
is
are-
not to
are
improve
not
their
working. They have
communities. Their
gangs.
goal is to
They don't even
destroy
associate with their
us.
own people. They associate with like gangs and shoot each other in the streets. It's not working for them.
It's not working to make their lives better. It is working to fuck us up.
Right, but why is your goal to fuck other people up? Your goal should be to make your lives better. And if you just copy, if you're
my
just
goal-
copying the
my goal is
tactics,
to make our
if you're
lives
just
better
copying the tactics
by
of people
getting
that
rid
have
of these
made
people
their
who
lives
are fucking
worse
us.
using those tactics, right? They've actively
It
made
is-
their lives
it is-
worse.
Yes, but they're defeating us.
Yeah, okay. Oh boy, I'm winning. But my lives is getting worse. My brothers and cousins are getting killed in the streets. Okay, that's the result
Our
of
lives
their
are
strategy.
getting worse, and our brothers and cousins are getting killed
No,
in
they're
the
not.
streets
Not in mass
because
numbers.
we're letting this
Not
thing
in mass
defeat us.
numbers. Like no more than regular violence every year. Like I'm just saying, like if you focus so much on defeating your enemy, you're going to just destroy yourselves. Like your goal should be making your lives
if we
better.
get the blacks out of our communities, frankly, the number of white people who are murdered will be cut in half instantly just by addressing 13% of the population.
Right, but you're focused on beating enemies instead of making your lives better. And that won't necessarily make your lives better because there's going to be the same criminal element there. It's going to be maybe less and less violent, but there's still going to be a criminal element there. Just doesn't just go away because you removed one group of people.
It'll be much
Right,
lesser.
but you have 80 to 90 IQ.
You're aware
You're
of the
underestimating
statistics.
how
I know
many
you
80
know
to
the
90
numbers.
IQ white people are there. Those are the people that will take the positions of those communities. That's who,
Not to that
yes, it will.
degree.
That's exactly who will fill those positions.
No, that is an invalid
No, it's
argument
not. Why
because
is
you
it?
can
Why
look
is
at
it not a valid
Appalachia and they do not have. Appalachia does not have
Why
nearly
is
the
that an
crime
invalid
rate
argument?
of black people. I'm
Why is it
sorry.
an invalid argument? The average European IQ is about 100 and declining every year.
Yes, but if you look
So
at
what does that mean
communities
half the
where
European population
if
is?
you-
They're not smart enough to
if you
function
look
in a
at-
modern society.
if you look at communities where white people are less intelligent and where they're poor,
They are
they
less
still
violent.
do
That is
not
correct.
manifest. They still do not manifest the same levels of crime and violence as black communities of the same poverty level and of
Right,
the
but
same
you're
intelligence.
coming at it of the perspective. You're completely divorcing that from context.
And what context
You're
is
completely
it that I'm
divorcing from the
divorcing?
concept of context, where those Africans identify themselves as a unified group. Those Hispanics identify them as a unified group, right? These whites do not identify themselves as a unified group, and they will identify themselves as a unified group on class basis. They absolutely will.
Well, they'll also do it based on nationalities.
I don't know. I
And-
don't know if they'll do it on nationality, but they will do it on class. They'll move to class and
On-
they'll start murdering rich people.
They'll do it on ethnicity as well.
Well, I mean, what you're saying, like Polacks
Maybe
and
not
Irish.
on the white collective, but they
Well,
have
what I'm
their
saying is
identity.
they'll
as-
move to class, all right, and you'll get a similar situation. It probably will be less violent. You're probably correct about that. But it's not just going to magically go away. It's just going to move to a different group of people.
But the numbers of victims will be greatly reduced.
Is that better?
Absolutely. the absolute number of violent crime victims being reduced is an absolute good.
Are there other ways you could reduce that number?
Not nearly as effective as removing the
you're saying
13%
there's no
of the
other way to
population that's
effectively
doing
reduce that
50% of the murder.
Are you saying there's no other effective way to reduce that number?
There are other effective ways, but that is the most
Why
effective
don't we
way. So
implement
should
those
you not?
policies because we can do that?
And why can we not enact the other
Well,
policies?
because you
I
can't.
mean,
There's
you
no
you
political
see
will to
so
do it.
many.
You have 60% at minimum against the idea from the start, and you're making no headway
There
in
are
the
so
last 60
many.
years.
There are so many among the black community that want the same thing.
Right, but they don't want to be removed from their communities, and you're never going to convince them of doing that. They don't care that it makes your life better. They don't care that it makes their life better. They're not going to let themselves be removed.
From white communities?
Yeah, they're not going to remove themselves from that. They're not going to let you do that. You're never going to.
What
You're
if-
never going
if,
to get
if
that
you
back.
tell if you tell these people you can live with your own kind,
Why would they do
then they'll
that?
Get all the
Why would they
benefits.
want to do that? Why would they want to do that at all? Are you kidding me? They're the ones killing each other at the highest number. You think they really want to live in an all-black community?
Well, yeah,
I'm just saying, like,
you
you
can
really,
ask that.
you're gonna convince them they want to
you
live
can a-
amongst an all-black community?
You can ask that question, but there's an entire movement based on them wanting to be separated from the white legal system and living under white laws, under white rules. They want to live the black way among their own people.
Is that the majority?
It's may not be the majority,
I think it's a
but it
vocal
is certainly the
minority,
most
and
outspoken.
so, like, that. I mean, there's a bunch of white people that want to take away more than half my income and effectively make me a slave to the state. Like, there's a whole group of white people that want to make it so if I even have this conversation that I am not allowed on the internet, not allowed to hold a job, not allowed to survive in the modern world. Like, there's a whole movement of white people and fellow white people that want to do
but
that.
your
to me.
solution to that is you want to move to Asia.
Yes,
but
so I can
Asians
live
that
as a
come here,
second-class citizen.
but Asians who come here vote for the same things that liberal majority of white people is voting for. That majority of white
Women do,
women.
yes, 100%.
So I mean, going over there is not actually escaping those people because those people still exist over there.
No, the thing you have to understand about Asians is that Asians are a very collective people. And the will of the collective in most of Asia is that Asia is for Asians, not for other people. The will of the collective in America is that America is for everything, and all people are treated equal and universality. That's why they vote left here, because they are collectivists and influenced by that quite easily. That's their culture. Their culture is to not step on toes. Their culture is to assimilate. That's them assimilating to what is perceived as the majority opinion.
Well, if the Asians can get to that, then white people should can too.
We've had years to do it. We've had 50 to 60 years to get even remotely close to that. And we fought wars.
I mean, but what
we
is
fled
what
with
has
our
China
brothers
done
about
in
this.
the
Like,
last
nothing's
50 years?
changed.
They've plunged themselves into communism. What has China done in the last 50 years? They've plunged themselves into
They're not
communism.
communists.
That's not.
They're not communists
that's not to the
anymore. They're just
benefit
an
of the
oligarchy.
people. No, they're just
Asia's not
living
communism.
in
Asia's a
slavery.
totalitarian oligarchy that rules their enslaves their own people. Like, China is not an example of communism at all. They have free markets. I mean, they're trading with outsiders. Now, Johnny, I'd love to continue this conversation, but I got a meeting in 10 minutes I got to prep for.
Okay. Well, we could find other opportunities to continue
We can
arguing.
talk about this another time. But I'm just
Alright.
saying that, like, Asian people are very different. Like, it's not, you can't just try the same solutions that they do for them, with their insular world cut off from the rest of the world. Oh shit, I got a message from Ralph. What the hell? What's this?
Well, you might be right about that. And again, I don't have the solution, but I think that our group is in an unhealthy state, and the healthiest state would be for us to have our own identity again.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't
think so.
I don't know what else to do.
I just don't. Europeans as a group, I think, they're too fractured. But I gotta go to work. So Johnny, where can they find you? Where is was Tango streaming his game, by the way?
No, actually, he does, I guess, private D&D games. I don't know if he ever streams them, but we just played. But as far as, like, I haven't done anything on my channel yet, but I do plan to do some streams sometime in the future. I've for now, I'm just joining Ghosts. But if you guys want to give me some follows on my channel, it's DLive Johnny Medieval.
Okay, so drop your link in the chat. I'll see you all later tonight in probably 7 or 8 hours. I'll be playing probably Ghost of Tsushima with Adolwolf again tonight. So if you want to watch some samurai action, that's what I'll be doing tonight. Johnny, you have a good rest of your day.